Welcome back to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. Today, I am super excited to have with me Niki Henley, owner of Extra Mile Insurance Solutions out of Owasso, Oklahoma, which she started in 2018. And I'm looking forward to getting into her history as I've been researching Niki a little bit. I see that she's worked at a number of different insurance agencies and companies. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about that. And I don't know how many were aware, but Extra Mile Insurance has been voted as the best insurance agency in the world for the last 2 years and up in the running for a third year in a row. So without further ado, Niki, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better and hear about your operation and background. So with that, why don't you tell us how you got into the insurance business and bring us up to today?
Sure. I got started, I think it was back in 2013, as most people do by accident. I
Mhm.
was working in an accounting department in a basement doing accounts payable and receivable, and I hated it. So I was looking for something different, and I applied for a job with AAA thinking I was going to be working in roadside assistance. Little did I know that it was actually an insurance position, and the guy said, you have to take a test to work here. Are you good at tests? I'm like, yeah, I can take a test. Like, all right. And got thrown into a 2-day insurance test class and took the test and passed and was hit the ground running at that point. So I started out working for a captive agent with AAA as a salesperson, and it actually was really easy for me. My in the past, I had worked doing infomercials from home. This is before working from home was really a thing. And so anytime, this is really before the internet was crazy either, you order things off infomercials. My phone would ring at home, a prompt would pop up for what they were calling for, and I would sell it to them. So I've sold anything from
Wow. Wow.
juicers to ab rollers to Proactive, rotisseries, anything you would order on infomercial, I've sold it. And so that's really where I hone my phone sales skills.
Okay.
And so I walk into the insurance agency. I'm like, well, every single person needs this. This is really easy to sell. And my sales manager there really kind of helped me grow a little bit in insurance, seeing that I had the sales side already there. And so I worked there for a while, and then it was really far from my home. It was about 30 minutes, which for Oklahoma, that's far to drive. I know some people that's their normal commute, but
Yeah.
there was a State Farm office hiring close to home in my town, and so I applied there and moved there after about the first year. And
Okay.
then it was really different because AAA at that point in time, their rates were really great. I just had to have a little bit of sales knack, and their prices were really low. I go to State Farm, and their prices are high. And so that's where I really learned to sell on value. Having the State Farm name and some good coaches there, they're like, look, we're going to be higher, but we have all of this behind us that you can sell on. So I kind of picked up that training there and did really well. Learned to sell life and commercial at that place. Um, and I was there for a few years, and the agent came to me and said that he could not continue to pay me what I'm worth, and he felt bad keeping me there because my sales were so high and their structure just didn't work, and that I should look for an independent agent.
Oh, interesting.
It was interesting, and it was a game changer for me, and so I owe a lot to that boss for pushing me towards the independent side. But I also was pushing him like, hey, I'm selling this much. I need more money.
Yeah.
They don't do renewals there at all, things like
Yeah.
that. So I started looking there, and I found an independent agent that hired me. At the time, I was a single mom, and I didn't really understand the power of going higher commission, and so I went in to the independent agent, and I'm like, I want 50,000 a year, and I'll work here. And that was about 15,000 more than I was making at State Farm. And he's like, I'll do it, because he
Wow.
knew that he was going to be saving money having me on salary than putting me on commission, because I was selling about 70, 80,000 a month. Um,
Okay. Now, was he kind of aware of that's what you were worth and capable of?
yes,
Or
he was
okay.
aware, because I came in with my, like, here's what I sold at AAA, here's what I sold at State Farm. I
Okay.
came in prepared with I'm a numbers
Mhm.
person. in that sense. And so he jumped on it, and I was able to do some good things at that agency. And he also taught me a lot about commercial. It's completely different. I had been at two captive agencies, and so I learned how the independent worked,
Mhm.
learned a lot more about how to sell commercial insurance there. And I was there a few years, and that office was actually even further from my house. And I was like, hey, if I can get an office in my local spot, I can sell more. And so he allowed me to open a
Wow.
branch. He's like, find a space, I'll do it. Just give you a computer and phone. And so we did that for a while. And then I got a call from AAA again after a few years, and they said, we now are writing multiple carriers. Do you
Hmm.
want to come back as a corporate agent? So they have agents that work for the corporation, not really their own branches. And they provide the location, the CSR, but you basically are managing your own book, and you get renewals and things like that. So that sounded great to me. Hey, I can still sell the same carriers I am at the independent plus AAA, and kind of get a little bit of training wheels on how it works to manage my own book, because I wasn't really doing that before. And so jumped over to AAA. Within about 6 weeks, I learned really quick that, okay, I don't want to work for a big corporation. This is not what I was thinking. I wasn't writing the AAA product at all. I was writing all the same independent carriers that I had been at the independent office, because their product kind of stunk at that time. And so I knew something wasn't right. And so I started thinking, okay, maybe I just need my own AAA office. And so I
Mm.
approached them like, hey, I want to do what they called an entrepreneur office. And they're like, no, you're not ready. I'm like, I'm in the top 3 sales in Oklahoma like every month. Like, what do you mean I'm not ready? They just did not believe in me. And so I started thinking, I need to maybe look at starting my own. I had no idea how to run the agency.
Right.
I had no ownership. I'm not really entrepreneur. Like, I'm not like always
Mm.
starting things. Like, that's not but
Yeah.
I can sell insurance.
Yeah.
And I felt like the customers were not getting the right service from the corporate place I'm in, because there were so many rules, and I was like trying to figure it out, and talk to Goosehead, and then I talked to State Farm about maybe trying to start an agent, my own there. None of that worked out. And then I found the organization, I think, is it SIAA, is a big group.
Yeah.
They have a local one, OAA. So I was talking to them, and I was at an Encompass meeting, uh, like a product meeting with a bunch of other agents, and I was actually standing in line at the buffet, and I heard other agents talking about this new group that had started a branch off of the OAA. The owners, I guess, they split, and it was more about agents and short contracts and things like that. And I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? Tell me about this. And they told me about it. I met with the group owners, and it was a good fit for me.
Okay.
And I was just like, hey, I can sell insurance. I just need somebody, if I have a question, that can help me on the agency side, but also who will just leave me alone, because I'm pretty independent. I don't want to have to run my quotes through somebody else. I
Right.
want to be able to get appointments pretty quickly, because I've been writing these carriers for years. And they're like, okay. And so I was like, all right, I just need to figure out how I'm going to do this. And then I had a really weird thing with AAA. This is like a long story, but I'm getting
Yeah.
to the
No.
point. I had
Go.
where the day I started with AAA, they were merging with another AAA, which AAA is, they're all locally, like, independently owned. So they were merging from the small Oklahoma one with the big East Coast. And so it just happened to be the day I started. So the day I started, they said, we don't have contracts yet, because we just merged. The merger started today, so we can't put you on the old contract, and we can't put you on the new one yet. And so I didn't sign anything. So I had no non-compete. I had no commission structure.
Oh,
Only thing
from
I
where
had,
you're existing with AAA.
yeah. So when
Yes.
the AAA, before I was trying to figure out, but when I got hired on there, and I didn't really think about it at the time, they didn't have me sign anything other than the HR, like, here's your vacation, here's your,
Yeah.
you know. And so then when I started thinking about jumping, I was like, everybody's like, do you have a non-compete? I'm like, no, I didn't sign anything. They're like, you don't have
Yeah.
a contract with them? I'm like, I don't have anything, because they were in the middle of a merger. Well, then December 2018, 2 years later, after I had started AAA, and that's about the same. For like 2 months before then is when I was looking at all these other independents. I kind of jumped ahead before. Um, they and they're like asking, do you have a non-compete? No, no, no. Well, AAA comes to all the corporate agents and says, okay, the merger is done. January 1, 2019, everybody's signing brand new contracts. And that's when it hit me. I don't have a contract.
Yep.
And I'm like, I told my husband, I have to go now. And
Yeah.
so December 15th, I put in my notice. And by January 1, I have opened my agency within 2 weeks. Because I'd already talked to the other people, and I was like, I talked to a lender who I do a lot with mortgage companies, and a lender I'd been working with. I'm like, hey, you guys have a massive building. Do you have an office I could use? He's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, I just need like a closet. I'm going to have my laptop, my own phone, and a printer, and I just need a place to sit to where
Yeah.
carriers will talk to me. And LexisNexis at the time, you couldn't get anything without having a space back then. And so he's like, let me talk to the owner. And the owner's like, sure, come on in for 90 days. We'll see how it goes. So I just, January 1, 2019, walked in the mortgage company with my laptop. I had my phone with a burner number, and I had Progressive. I got appointed with Progressive Auto, and I had Mercury.
So you didn't join a network at that time.
I did join the one
Okay.
I was talking about that I
Okay.
tag, who I had met through the buffet line at Encompass, just randomly heard, and I had already talked to them. So the day that I was like, I got to go now, and they're like, okay, let's do it, and I just signed with them pretty quickly. But I didn't want to do any writing like through them. I wanted to get my own direct appointments, and they were pretty confident I could because I already had been writing all these carriers for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically with them, within 3 months, I pretty much had a direct appointment with every major carrier I needed to.
Wow. Okay.
But
So
just
and you
from my sales, all the reps knew me because I'd been working with them for years, and then they knew that Tag, the group I was with, was backing me. They gave me direct appointments pretty quick, which is rare, But I hustled a lot and got those very early on.
tell me a little bit about what that feeling was like when you were right around that time of middle of December of 2018 or
Yeah,
17,
yeah,
I guess.
2018.
So you decided within a very short amount of time, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to go independent. And like you said, you're not, maybe not, the most entrepreneurial type person, but I'm going to take this jump, and I'm trying to find this location. Tell me a little bit of what that feeling was like, going through that.
Well, at the time, producers are pretty cocky, the good ones anyways.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've selling
Yeah.
anywhere I've been a top salesperson. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, this is going to mean, I told my husband, I'm like, I'll be back up to my numbers. Give me like 3 months and my numbers will be back where they were before. And I just thought this was going to be no big deal. I'm just basically doing the same thing I was doing at AAA. I just have, I just get to pick my own management system and have to get some bank accounts in place and go from there. Well, I had no clue.
Yeah.
Like looking at it's a good thing because I would have been stressed to the max had I known the amount of things that goes into owning an agency. But at the time I had no idea. So it was kind of good. It's kind of like having kids. You're like so excited, but you have no idea the work
Right.
you're about to do.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. So I was excited at the time to be like, I finally get to do it the way I want to,
Yeah.
and thought I knew
And
everything.
so what was that first year like? So like you said, you have the confidence to produce, and you needed markets to do that. So no, probably no issues there. But what was everything else like, kind of merging everything together and making all your own decisions?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was still kind of fun. You're getting to pick out all your software. You're trying to figure out your website, and you're not that as busy because you don't have renewals yet, right? So you're just
Yeah.
the first year was probably it sounds weird, but the easiest because I had a bunch of clients from being in insurance so long that they follow you. You don't even have to contact them. They call, you're not there. They know your cell phone. They know you. They call you. And so I had a lot of support. Like I said, I had a lot of referral partners already in place. So I was still getting new
Yeah.
business coming in. And so the first year was kind of fun. It was like I didn't have any help. After the first 90 days, uh, rented a spot here in Owasso because the mortgage company was in Tulsa. So I was driving like 20 minutes. It was no big deal, but I wanted my own place and kind of wanted to get grounded here in Owasso. I found
Yeah.
a good space, is inexpensive, and got some furniture off the marketplace, just kind of the fun starting out,
Yeah.
like everything's new and shiny, and went to a couple conferences for IAOA, and it's just like, wow, this is
Oh
so
man.
cool.
Plus, it's
Uh,
freeing, right?
yeah,
When you
yeah,
jump out on your own and there's no State Farm, there's no AAA, there's no bureaucracy.
right,
It's that for me, when I left, I was a farmer's agent. When I left, I felt like a weight was off my shoulders. I
yeah,
That alone made me super happy because for me, yeah, like you're saying, I could produce. That I knew that wasn't going to be an issue. Give me people to talk to,
yeah,
and it was so fun. Of course, I didn't go to be an agency owner. I jumped in this. I went independent. I wasn't an owner at that point, so it's different. I wasn't making those type of decisions, but it was so freeing.
yeah.
It just felt amazing.
Yeah, it was very freeing, and it was fun because everything was new,
Yeah.
and it wasn't extremely difficult at that point. It was just me. I wasn't looking to hire. I was wanting to get a good baseline, and then I was ready for those magical renewals that everyone says was going to happen, and that's when it's a long game. I knew that, and
Which which you
it,
hadn't had much of that before, correct?
no, not at all. So at AAA, they were offering. I was paid like 10% of new business, and then my salary was basically minimum wage, but it was based on your renewal. So every year your salary would increase based on your book. So it wasn't really renewals, but your salary was based. And there's people that have been
Okay.
there a long time who are doing really well, but I had never had the true renewal experience, and I really didn't even understand it. I mean, things like how do you project what your renewals are going to be? I don't know. No one's ever taught me that, and I have any. How do I pay myself? Like, how much do my? Okay, here's the money's coming in. How much do I get paid? Like, how do I figure that out?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I had no
No,
clue. Like,
most of
no
us
one
don't.
tells you about how to do financials, how to negotiate with carriers when you're getting the contracts. Like,
Yeah.
no clue at all. And I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants trying to figure it out. And so that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's fast forward, 4 plus years later to today. Tell me what your team looks like.
Ta-da, it's me. You're looking at me. So
Oh,
that's been one of my major issues is staffing.
okay.
Right now it's me and I have two virtual assistants in the Philippines
Okay.
doing service, one commercial, one personal service. I've lost two local people and a quoting
Mm,
VA in the last 3 months. And so
mm,
I my 1 year hit at COVID, right? So I yay hit January 2020. I hit 1 year, start to get the renewals. Bam, COVID hits. Everything shuts down, right?
yeah.
And now there's no staff to hire. That's when I really started to need it. So ever since then, it's been a struggle to get good people who will stay, who want to stay in insurance, who want to work. You know,
Mm,
it's it's been a really big struggle. So I started hiring VAs a couple years ago, 2 years ago, maybe 2021. I hired a quoting VA through one of the services that lasted about 6 months. It didn't, and their performance started going down. It was
mm,
weird. I didn't really. I felt like he was being replaced by somebody I didn't know. It was just a very weird situation. So I was like, I'm not going to do that, and I ended up hiring directs through someone who was offering that service to connect you with VAs. So I
okay.
hired two, and then I also not poached, but I got another VA from another agency was getting bought, who got bought. But they said we got bought out. We can't have any um, VAs. I have a trained one, so I grabbed that one, and then I hired two more on the same day. That was January of last year. So I had three VAs, and then I had a CSR and a new producer in house. And so last year was training all these people. I basically brought on
Yeah.
5 people last year, and by and then I thought 2023 is going to be amazing. We have 5 people, full time, and then February hit, and I lost 3 of them, and now I'm back to square one. So
Wow.
yeah, it's tough. So
S-
I'm the only licensed person, which is very difficult running service sales.
Yeah. So I mean, you're doing everything,
Mhm.
and you're probably still writing and have these,
Oh yeah,
leads and business coming in.
I have so many leads coming in. That's the hard part is I'm leaving money on the table with all these leads that I pretty much every day I have about 20 leads in my pipeline. And some
Mm,
people have been waiting over a week for a quote, which there's no way if you're not getting the quotes out within 48 hours, it's on personal lines, you're going to lose them to somebody else pretty
yeah.
quickly. Sometimes it's a little bit longer if it's a weird risk or something, but I'm just doing the best I can and trying to prioritize keeping my referral partners happy by getting their leads out
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Priority, right? I mean, you have to prioritize
You
everything
know, you have
at
no
that point.
prior. I'm not writing it right now.
Right.
Like, I'm not
No.
doing it. We don't have time for that. And then trying to keep my current book going with, the market right now is crazy. And so trying to keep all the remarkets in check and trying to get people like calm down. Let's just stay where you're at. So, yours is only a $200 increase, and the guy down the street, his is a 2,000. So if you can just stay put, it's going to be better for you in the long run. Trying to get people to stay put instead of jumping where we're having to spend a lot of time remarketing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of swimming as I can and offering things. The job market right now is horrible. People wanting 3 weeks vacation up front. Working a 4-day work week, working remote. They want a cell
Yeah.
phone, and they just want everything. And I'm stretching as far as I can, but some of them it's just not enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've never even worked independent. I can't give you the world right now, and I need to. You need to have some sort of vetting.
Really hard place to be because you're so pressed with time right now anyway. And unless you take on, the training for any new staff, it's time consuming, much less somebody who, even if they have, uh, you know, if they have captive experience, not all that helpful
No,
coming over to be independent. And it's not always a good fit. I've learned that the hard way. But unless you have somebody that has independent experience that's worked with the management system, and it's time consuming. So,
yeah.
um,
I keep trying to talk my VAs and you want to move to the United States because they're awesome. They've been with me for over a year and hard workers and they get it. They can't do the license stuff.
I bet that you have with your VAs, I mean, you have really trained them and stretched
Yes,
them and
I
gotten
have.
everything.
They are pretty much doing everything you can that you don't need a license, all the way up to preparing the quote, all the way through they're quoting commercial and personal all the way through, all the way up to where they're ready to issue with all the carriers, and then I go and review them.
Yep.
But we did spend a lot of time training them how to do that, especially the commercial VA. He has picked it up so quick, and if he leaves, I'm in big trouble because he's
Are
doing a
sorry,
lot.
sorry. Are they doing a lot of customer facing work? Phone intake, maybe,
Um,
sending, ID cards back to customers, that sort of
yeah, so
thing?
doing a lot of customer facing on, documents, underwriting issues, billing issues.
Mm,
They're doing it mainly through email. And then I just start hired Lava, and last month, um, Austin with Lava, I talked to him. I had met him in Nashville at the IAOA, and he has a program where they basically can come in and overhaul your agency Zoom and have everything built out for you for automations for pretty much every process I have. And I was looking for something because I lost my staff. I don't have time. I need help, but
yeah.
I knew I don't want to rush into hiring the wrong person
Yeah.
again.
Correct.
And so he was able to, I went ahead and went with their program, invested a little bit into that technology, and it definitely changed things for the better. My leads pipelines, my claims pipelines, service, non-pay, every single function we have, we now have a pipeline in Agency Zoom that's running automatic.
Nice. I
Yeah.
I've been That's been on my list for too long, of
Well,
really automating agency Zoom as much as
yeah.
possible.
So I was doing it on my own before, and had some automations, but it was not great. This is like someone goes on my website. and asked for a lead. They redid all the forms. So they fill out the form, it drops into the pipeline automatically, and then it gets, if it's missing information, we'll put it into that pipeline, or it goes to the VA to quote. And it's just like they're constantly getting text messages and communications from us, so much to where I had people, even a close friend, call me and be like, look, I really want to just have you working with me, not one of your staff. And I started laughing, and I said, Brandy, that was a computer that is texting you. I said, we're just trying to get this form back from you. That's not my staff. You're still under me. I'm still watching your policies. I just don't
Yeah,
have time to send you a message to remind you once a week to fill out the dang form on your renewal.
nice.
So it's been awesome. And I think it almost was, I needed to lose the staff to give me the push to invest in the technology, because I don't think I
Yeah,
ever would have done it if I had this other people here. But now I have this awesome system in place, and we're still tweaking it. But so when I do bring someone on, it's going to be amazing. They're going to be able to come in and have the tools to do
yeah.
whatever they want. So I'm
And you
pretty
said
excited about that.
the name of that outfit was Lava?
Yeah, Lava Automation.
Okay, check them out. Um, Tell me about some of the biggest mistakes that you've made as an agency owner.
Oh man, there's so many. One of my biggest mistakes, and it sounds silly, is whenever after the first 90 days, I got an office. Well, I'm in Oklahoma. At that point, I wasn't really involved in any national groups for agency owners, so I didn't really know anything. I got an office. I need a landline phone system. And so I called the
Mm.
cable company, and I have 3 office landline phones that I'm locked into for 5
Oh,
years.
man.
And so as soon as I started realizing what was, oh, I need a VoIP phone system, and now I'm locked into this contract. So I'm having to spend a lot of extra money on workarounds and extra systems just to get that to work, because I'm still having to pay, and it's too much for me to want to have to buy out my contract. Um, so that was one big mistake, is not really researching what technology I needed before jumping in and just starting getting things. And that goes for the management system as well, like not researching the tech. And it was a very quick thing. I was using PL Rater at AAA, and they had a management
Mm,
system, and I thought, oh, I'll just get their management system QQ, because I already know PL Rater and they must work well together. And I didn't look at anything else.
yeah,
And so there was nothing wrong with QQ. It just did not do what I needed it to do robustly. So I did a switch to Hawksoft about a year and a half in, and I almost quit over changing. Transitioning management systems was a nightmare when you are a small agency. Like, I don't have time to put 3 days a week training and trying to move everything and implementing it while I'm also trying to sell and run the
yeah,
agency. It's different when you're bigger and the owner's not the one doing all the work. But so that was a mistake, but I corrected it pretty early. So now I've had them for 2 years, and I probably never will change again unless there's something major wrong, because it was a big headache. Not for anything abnormal or neither side. It wasn't QQ or Hawksoft. It's just that's a lot
it's a lot.
involved, and it's hard to do that while you're trying to work in the agency.
Yeah, it's a lot when you are and your staff is so accustomed to this. You're in your management system so much. You do, you should be doing just about everything in there, policy servicing wise, entering everything in there, and then to alter it, that's a lot. And to take, we did the same thing. We were on AMS 360 and switched to Hawksoft 2 years ago,
Mm.
and I knew it was going to be a change, but I needed to get away from AMS 360,
Yeah,
and I knew it was going to be rough for a while, and it was, and but we're definitely better for it.
yeah.
I've been happy
I
with.
feel like I have my what they say tech stack. I feel like I'm pretty have a really awesome one for being so small, and I'm going to be able to grow with it like crazy. And I feel like as soon as I get a couple of the missing puzzle pieces in, like staff, and then, we quit hitting these hard markets, and uh, I try not to say when this happens, then I'm going to be great, because I'm trying to be more in the moment of like we're great right now and we're just rolling with it, and I'm trying not to be too pessimistic, because that is another mistake I had early on is when I have $1 million book, I'm going to be amazing. When I have 3 staff, we're going to be killing it. When we have when we can knock down the walls in this location and take over the next side, we're going to be amazing, because I've realized that life is going to throw a lot of crap at you.
Yep.
And so just be amazing now. Like do it now, because if you wait for that next best thing, when I have the better management system, then we're going to be good. Then, because I caught myself doing that, and I was just always disappointed and always looking for the next best thing. And I'm trying to be much better at just enjoying where I'm at and just doing the best I can with where I'm at. Like right now, me and my 2 VAs, we are still killing it. We're still
Yeah.
writing business, and we're not losing business in this crazy market. I'm going a little crazy, but I'm trying not to do that. So that is something I would recommend to new agency owners. If you're making the jump, try to embrace where you're at now and not wait till the next step to feel like you're doing great.
Yeah. And as we like to talk about, you cannot compare yourself to your neighbor or,
No,
your friend in, Nebraska or wherever. It's not the same.
yeah, it's
And
really hard not to do. I have a
it
lot of
is.
agency owner friends across all over, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, they just were able to buy another book. How did they do that? They must have been doing something great. And oh, now they have this big location and they have this amazing staff. But if you really get in and find some friends that you can be honest with, that's another thing I recommend, is finding other agency owners that you really trust and who will be vulnerable with you, no matter what their size. You'll start to realize that everybody's having the same issues.
We all have warts. We all have some issues that, I might not be posting about them on Facebook about the trouble that I had last week, but it's there. We all have challenges.
Yeah,
Um, and so yeah, absolutely. A- And, you have to take a step back and look at, you've only been doing this 4 years.
yeah,
And, throw in that with COVID of a challenging time. And even though, insurance production, maybe wasn't as affected as much as insurance, it still affected just about everything.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it affected my marketing plan big time, because being heavy realtor mortgage, I was
mm,
out doing lunch and learns, meeting with mortgage people, realtors. I also am a realtor myself.
okay.
So I'm not practicing. Well, I still have my license, but I haven't been doing that since I opened the agency. It's too much, but I was doing it on the side before, so I have a lot of realtor contacts, and it was really difficult during those. Really, even now, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
No.
getting out of the office at all.
Well, now the market's changed. So, well, now you can't. I mean,
No, I
you're
can't leave,
stuck.
because
Yeah.
then the phones don't get answered.
Yeah. Um, so that was a good piece of advice for newer agents. What other advice would you have, going through from the beginning? Would you say, or do you have any other advice off the top of your head?
Um, I mean, a lot of it. Another piece of advice is getting a mentor
Mm,
and finding another independent agent that is willing to be vulnerable, give you advice, and someone that can just be honest with you. And it may take a little bit initially. The IOA, when I first joined, they used to have a mentor program, and I got in. Now his name's blowing my mind. Todd. He's not even in it anymore. He retired. But I had an amazing guy who was just very selfless, who I could call every week and ask him those questions like, "Hey, what do I pay myself? Like, this is what I'm thinking." And then the other thing is, don't depend on your mentor to tell you what to do. Depend on your mentor to be more of a sounding board, because I feel like sometimes people don't like to mentor because it feels like it's taking a lot out of them. Like,
mm,
this person doesn't know what they're doing, and I'm having to teach them how to be an independent agent. I have had lots of mentors. I can remember calling people that I met online, which is crazy, out of the blue.
right.
Jennifer Clages,
Isn't
I called her. I only talked to her online. I'm like, I'm at 1 year. I can't find any help because of COVID. I have so much. What do I? And I'm like literally crying. She's like, just breathe. It's going to be fine. And she was like, maybe you cut back on the sales for a little bit and let's keep those renewals. And I never even thought about, wait, what? You're allowed to like calm down on your sales. She's like, you have to protect that, book you're in. And then she talked to me about, she was asking me like how I was selling things. She talked about maybe requiring the bundle, just throwing some ideas out there. I just would try to find a mentor or get on a Facebook group or listen to podcasts like this. Uh, Always be listening to other people's ideas, and then don't feel like if you're not doing it, you're a loser. Because to me, I'm like, oh, they're doing all this stuff. Take little pieces and
Yeah,
make it your own. And
that's right.
so I take even mentors who tell you things. It's not the law. Uh, Take what they're telling you and apply it to how you're running your agency. And I feel like if you can make your agency your own, but not try to reinvent the wheel, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really, that's what's helped me is sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to the thing you just said, but
that's
this little
okay.
piece over here, that
That's
that
right.
can work. So I'm going to take that little piece and repurpose it in a way that's going to help my agency grow. And just having the support, because you can be like, feel like you're on an island, especially right
Of
now.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah, take and as far as listening to other people, take what you want and leave the rest because
Yeah.
sometimes that's all you need. And you touched on it a little bit. I've touched on it before in previous podcasts. For me, when I was introduced to IAOA, I mean, my mind was blown. And so for most of us that are involved in that, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. And also look for other, IAOA has been crucial in but I also have sought out other business owner advice, not just independent agents. So I applied for a Meta, which is Facebook. They have a business leaders network. You have to apply to
Mm,
get in it. They have only like 1,200 people in the whole nation in it. I got accepted to it. So I'm in this small business group of all small business owners, and they give us support with digital tools. They roll out things early. We haven't talked about it, but social media is like one of my big pleasures in life.
I see that.
Not just scrolling it, but I love to make videos. I have my whole life. I love to be silly and have fun, and that has worked well for me in marketing. And I haven't really found a way to harness that right, but I think if once I get the agency stuff going, I'm going to really be able to take off on that. But Meta has really mentored me a lot, which sounds weird. Uh, Facebook in general, they have given me the tools to market. And I'm not running ads or anything. This is just straight about using the free tools, the job tools, the networking thing, and also advocacy. So they are actually flying me to Washington D.C. next at the end of the
Wow.
month to meet with the lawmakers in my state. They're they're
Really?
paying, yeah, and to advocate for small business using digital tools, and how we want to make sure the legislation that's going forward is going to support that, because it really has supported me. And I know a lot of independent agents, they depend on digital tools,
Yeah.
and so getting involved in other things, maybe even outside the insurance industry that you're excited about, can really help as well. Like, it's getting my mind off some of the crazy staffing stuff that I
Yeah.
get to go be a part of this thing nationally and kind of advocate for the insurance industry. I don't think there's anyone else in insurance in our group, so that's really exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd like to hear about that. I might circle back with you on that. Talk about your social media strategy a little bit because I see that you use that. You're fun, but you're engaging with your community. I know you are engaging with the local sports team and do kind of like a player of the game or player of the week. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so social media and making videos and stuff, me and my friends, we say we were like the original TikTok because we had the big VHS up on our shoulder making videos back when we were in junior high. Uh, those videos will never be seen, but I've always enjoyed entertaining, creating, and things like that. And so the Instagram Reels, Facebook, TikTok, those videos, um, they've always came easy to me. I'm pretty good at doing them. So I've never hired like a marketing team. And I don't have any sort of big strategy. People always like, what's your strategy? But because I enjoy it, I kind of do it in my free time. When I have a topic that comes up that seems that a way I can do it and make it interesting and fun, I'll do it. I'm really bad at doing the ones where I'm standing in front of a camera and it's like, what is auto insurance?
Yeah.
Auto insurance is this, and you have the pop-ups. That's not me at all. I'm
But
like,
that's good because I can tell you how many people want to watch that. Nobody.
yeah, I'm making fun of the Zoom calls that I'm on, or I'm, having a meme from the office of the guy dancing in front of my 5-star
Yeah.
review.
Oh,
That's
yeah, perfect.
that's the stuff I like to do. And then also, I do try to support all my local community as much as I can. I'm always, well, that's the local sports team. That's our local high school here. They do Player of the Week, so I was sponsoring that where
Mm.
they're actually producing those. I just sponsor them, and then my name gets slapped on that. So that's kind of an easy way to support the local audience. And I also support the local realtors and mortgage companies a lot by sharing their stuff, and helping them on social media as much as I can too. So I don't have a strategy. I wish I
Yeah.
had an amazing one,
No,
or I'm
that's
like, this is what I do, but I just kind of do what I know and that I like, and kind of just be me. And I feel like
yeah.
people react to that.
Yeah.
I have a weird sense of humor, and some people love it and some people hate it. I'm very sarcastic in the videos. My husband, he doesn't get it. He doesn't think they're very funny, but he enjoys that I enjoy doing it, and supports me in that way. He's not embarrassed to share my videos or anything.
Well,
Um,
it's not surprising. Our first interaction was at AOA, and I didn't even know who you were, and I can't remember what you said to me, but it was very sarcastic. It was very good, and I'm like, oh, I like this girl. I think I was probably hungover, but it's not important now. But yeah. So I said, this person's fun. I have to
it
get to know her a little
insurance
bit.
is so serious, and I take it very seriously. My main passion is taking care of my customers. Right, I want to make sure when they call me because their house is burning down, that I can sleep, that they can sleep, that everything's taken care of. And that's a very serious business, right, that we're
Yeah.
dealing with, that people don't realize. We're not just selling insurance. And so I've got to have a way to have that outlet. And honestly, some days if I'm having a bad day here and I'm just, it really doesn't even make sense. It's probably because I have ADD, but if I'm overwhelmed at work and I have so much stuff coming in, the phone's going crazy, the quotes are coming in, I'm just like, done. I'll go make a fun video about insurance. And it just
Mm,
kind of brings a little bit of joy back in, centers me a little bit, and then I can go take on the day. So maybe whatever that is for you, find what that is and
mm,
implement it in some way. And it doesn't have to be a big strategy. You can do little things and make a big impact without having this massive marketing plan and hiring
yeah.
all these coaches. And
Yeah.
I walked
I
around the
like that.
conference in Nashville, and I met so many people this year who walked up to me and said, "I saw you on TikTok." And at first I was like, "Oh yeah, that's fun." But then when I had like 20 people
Mm,
started recognizing me really just this last year, because I've kind of been doing a lot more, and all of a sudden it's like, that's the real girl. And then now I'm at a table of 10 people where I'm showing them how to make them,
yep.
and that's what I'm known for.
Nice.
It's nice, but then I kind of get. I actually had somebody even tag me when people were like, "Are there insurance influencers? Who should we follow?" And someone said, "Follow Nikki because she does fun reels." I'm like, "No, follow me because I'm really good at sales. Like, don't forget about that." And I'm not just a fun reels and TikTok person. I actually am really great at some other things in insurance, but that's kind of what people remember because that's what's put
Yeah.
out there.
That's the point though, to gain attention, and you can take your, you can show your skills from there.
Yeah.
So, last question, because we're both under a time crunch here. Um, this is it sounds like the beginning of 2003 is been off to kind of a tough start. And where would you like to be realistically the end of 2023? What would you like to improve on?
Um, I would like to have at least another in office, well, just another licensed staff member for sure. That's a big goal. Get that um, key person in here that wants to be here and in it for the long haul, and maybe somebody I can even mentor a little bit myself. That's one of my main goals. And then really right now, the way the insurance market is, I have a lot of customers that are struggling with the increases.
Mm.
and just really focus on retention
Yeah.
and the renewal process, which the automations have helped me a lot on that. Having a plan for renewals and not just taking them
Yeah.
as they're calling and saying, hey, my rate went up, but actually proactively either I have a threshold that I look at. If they're over this amount, they're going to automatically get remarketed. If they're not, we're going to tell them, like, hey, you need to stay where you're at. But having a plan for that and just really focusing on keeping the customers we have, um, not just happy, but actually taking care of them to where they're in the best spot they can be, so we can all get through 2023 crazy rate increases, and then kind of go from there. And then I'm not as focused on new business this year,
Yeah.
but definitely getting the staff and kind of shoring up some of the processes we already have.
I mean, I think that's a good plan, right? From where you're at right now. I mean, if you could implement, if you could do those two things, those would be wins, and
Yeah,
just kind of stabilize things a little bit.
yeah,
You kind of hate to say that, but that's just what it is. That's reality.
yeah. We got to get the foundation stable
Yes.
again before we can start building anything else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's really what I've been working on now, even while I'm waiting on that person or seeking them out, is working on our foundation here. So then when they come in, they're gonna love it because we're gonna have some tools and things that they won't find anywhere else.
All right. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Nikki, thank you very much for your time. I know you're super busy, so I really appreciate it. Everybody else, thanks for listening to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
See you,
thanks for
Nikki.
having me. I appreciate
Bye.
it.